Hello to everyone in the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral community and all of our friends. This is Father Jonathan. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to continue our reflections on the Psalms of liturgical worship in the Orthodox Church with a meditation on Psalm 140. Now, we've already been talking quite a bit about this psalm, and please forgive me for spending so much time on individual verses, but I think there's so much power in particular lines from the psalm that it's worthwhile for us to pause, to really dig deeply into the words and phrases that are said in these psalms and draw out significance that helps shape the way that we can live our lives of faith ongoingly. And this next verse is another instance of very profound words being spoken. And it's connected with our previous reflection on guarding our mouth. And so, continuing with verse 4, the psalm goes, "Do not turn my heart to words of wickedness, to allege pretext with sin, with people working lawlessness, and never, ever will I be joined with their chosen ones." So not only are we called to be mindful of how we speak from our lips, but more significantly, I would say, we're called to be guarded in our hearts, to not let our hearts try to make excuses for our shortcomings. 'Cause really, that is what this psalm is trying to let us know here. Because so often we can say with our mouth something harsh or cruel, or even if it's unintended, that can do damage to ourselves and to others. But the words we speak from our hearts, because our hearts are the core of our being, can do far more damage because they're words not idly spoken, but essentially spoken. Words that are coming from who we are in that moment. Maybe not who we ultimately are, maybe not who we are in the core of our being, but with all of the pretense that we have about ourselves. And then in our hearts, if we can speak words that are wicked, that allege pretense, that try to make excuses for the actions that we do, we will continue to do, not only say things that are unbecoming of us and could potentially harm ourselves and others, but we will do those things because our hearts are inclined, the words of our hearts, the words that give shape to how we interact in the world, well, they'll be orienting us in a way so that we do things that we are not proud of. So we have to be mindful, because this can lead us to sin. It can lead us to separating ourselves from God, from not actually or authentically loving God or our neighbor. And so this is also a call for us to acknowledge our shortcomings. So if we're called not to make excuses with our sins and words of wickedness coming from our hearts, what's the opposite of that? Well, the opposite of that is to be true to ourselves, to, from the depths of our being, the very heart of our being, to have an understanding of where we come up short. And this isn't because we need to be self-centered and think about all the wrong that we've done, or have to go out and claim I am the most sinful person. It's about acknowledging who we are, because if we can't really see ourselves, we can't respond to it. We have to really be self-aware. And this psalm is reminding us to do that. And so perhaps a task for us to do as we hear this psalm is to spend a little bit of time in quiet and meditate on those things where we're coming up short, those activities that we're doing, the things that we do that are in which we come up short, in which we are not living authentically our call as Christians to love God with all our heart, our mind, our soul, and our strength, and our neighbor as ourself. And in doing so, we can be mindful not only of how we act, but who we are acting with. And not choose to be with those who live in ways that are contrary to the teaching of the church. Because if our hearts are oriented in a certain way and we're not self-aware enough to witness that, we might begin to associate with those who do wrong. And it becomes so much easier to do wrong when we are amongst others who are falling short. Although we all fall short, there are some of us, there are some persons that do an exorbitant amount of harm. And if we can be self-aware enough in ourselves, in our hearts, and see where we're oriented, we can begin to see how perhaps it is unhelpful for us to associate with certain people, certain ideas, certain ideologies, because they perpetuate sin. And they might leave us open to try to make excuse and to justify sinful behavior because it's what everyone else is doing. So be mindful at the end of each day, or the beginning according to the schedule of services. Be mindful of how you've lived your life this day and ways in which you can root out those things in your heart that are preventing you from authentically living out the call to love God and neighbor. God bless you. We're here for you. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Call us, email us, send us a message on social media, leave us a note in the comment section, anything at all. We are here for you. We love you dearly. God bless you, and have a beautiful rest of your day.